G'day, today we're going to talk about the hidden cost of not knowing your business numbers. Now, you're not going to hear Russell Brunson or Ty Lopez or Gary Vee or any of these other guys who are promising you $1 million in no time flat talking about this, okay? They assume that you will know all this stuff. But you know about the word assume, don't you? It makes an ass of you and me. God, I love sick jokes. And that's one of them. But how many times have you talked to somebody running their own business who says with a kind of a silly laugh and a shrug, I'm shit at numbers, and they think it's okay. But you know what? Actually, it's not. Business has an underlying language, and that language is numbers. It's not marketing talk, it's not social media chat or client relations, it's numbers. At the end of the day, a business is successful or not based on one simple equation. Did you sell enough doodads to have money left over after you deduct all your costs? In other words, did you make a profit? Now, it's absolutely staggering to me how many people think they're in business to provide excellent service or the best graphic design work or a great and innovative menu of organic, homegrown, non-GE, handmade website designs, and they never mention profit. And partly that's because they don't have any idea how to calculate it. I've met business people all over the world, and if there's one thing that they have in common, it's not knowing how to read their numbers and make good decisions based on that. You know, 82% of business failures, 82%, are caused by mismanagement of cash flow. Now, just in case you don't know what cash flow is, here's a really simple definition. Cash flow is the difference in the amount of cash available in your account at the beginning of the month, let's say, and the amount of cash available at the end of the month. It's called positive if the closing balance is higher than the opening balance, and if it's not, it's called negative cash flow, okay? Now, if you're running a business and you didn't know this, then you are doing the business equivalent of running across the crowded highway and rush hour traffic with your eyes closed. Please don't take offense when I say that you're fucking insane. It's absolutely critical to know this. In fact, it's key to your survival. Even if you have a business that shows a profit on paper, you must have the cash flow to match if your business is going to earn money and keep running smoothly. You need money in the bank to pay for your business every day and to be able to pay yourself a salary each month. That's enough to cover your expenses, have some play money, and provide for your future retirement. Okay, so don't bother looking at all the invoices that you've sent out. You don't have that money yet. You can't take an invoice to the bank and exchange it for cash when things get a bit tight. It's absolutely critical to know this. In fact, it's key to your survival. Even if you have a business that shows a profit on paper, you must have the cash flow to match if your business is going to keep earning money and keep running smoothly. You need money in the bank to pay for your business every day and to be able to pay yourself a salary each month that's enough to cover your expenses, have some play money, and provide for your future retirement. Now look, don't bother looking at the invoices that you've sent out. You don't have that money yet. You can't take an invoice to the bank and exchange it for cash when things get a little bit tight. So look, just to make you feel a wee bit better, if you're one of those, I'm shit at numbers people, here's a few alarming facts. Numeracy skills, which is what we're talking about, are basic mathematical skills that enable you to understand and analyze numerical information and make the right conclusions and decisions, okay? Half the working population of England has numeracy skills equivalent to those expected for an 11-year-old child. So how do you think that they are going to run their businesses? This problem is not unique to England. In Australia, business leaders were asked how poor numeracy affected their businesses. Over 75% of them said that their businesses were somewhat affected, and almost 40% reported a moderate to high negative impact. And it's just as bad in the US. In a major nationwide test, adults came 18th out of 24 countries. The US came 18th out of 24 countries on numeracy. Now, poor numeracy is a huge problem, and it affects people and organizations in ways which are not immediately obvious, and it impacts on every single part of your business. How do you calculate your prices if you don't understand the language of business, numbers? How do you put a business budget together? How much does it really cost you to do a piece of work? What return on investment are you really getting with all that money that you're spending on Facebook ads? If you don't understand how to make numbers work, you can't make all those calculations. How much does it really cost to do everything yourself instead of outsourcing to people who can get more done faster and cheaper than you because you can't work out the opportunity cost because you can't speak the language of numbers? How much does it cost you to turn down a piece of work because you're worried about the input costs, which you can see right here, but you don't know how to calculate the short and long-term output revenue, which might be really, really enormous and give you a great return on that investment. But if you can't calculate it, you're buggered. Adults with poor numeracy skills are twice as likely to be unemployed than those who enjoy some ability in numeracy. And the adults who've got at least basic numeracy skills can actually earn a quarter more than those who lack those skills, the ones to solve basic mathematical problems. So what can you do to improve your basic business numeracy and run your business better? Well, for my money, you learn, pardon me on that, but you learn these 5 key calculations. The first one is you know how to compare fixed and variable costs. Fixed costs are the costs that are not affected by the volume of production or the service delivery of your company. For example, it's rent, loan repayments, insurance, office supplies, and so on. Variable costs vary with the amount of production or the amount of service delivery. So for example, it's material costs or labor costs or staff and salaries, server costs, those kind of things. Now, these are the levers that you can pull to minimize your costs. Every dollar that you save in costs drops to the bottom line as a dollar. But every dollar that you make in sales has to have a lot of new things taken away from it, deducted from it, before it gets to your bottom line as a net profit figure. So you might end up with 20 cents left out of that original dollar. So therefore, keeping control of your costs and understanding the impact that they have on your business is really critical. Next one I want to talk about is called runway. And that is the amount of cash that you've got available divided by the burn rate per month. This is when you're starting out, okay? The cash balance is the amount of cash that you've got on hand before it disappears. And the burn rate is the monthly rate at which your business loses money. So let's take a really easy example. I've got $12,000 in cash and my burn rate is $3,000 a month. How many months can I keep going with no sales before I run out of cash? 4. But you need to work that out because if you're starting a business, you really need to know that number. Another really important one is called break-even analysis. And that helps you to determine when your business will be able to cover all of its expenses and begin making a profit. So the way that you calculate that is pretty straightforward. When your revenues, your money you bring in from sales, equals your variable costs plus your fixed costs, okay? Pretty straightforward, but it takes a little bit of work to make sure that you're on top of it. The next one we're going to talk about is cash flow. Not going to spend a lot of time on that because I've already talked about cash flow, but it's, I can't reinforce this enough. It is so critical, okay? But just in case, positive cash flow, the inflow into the company, the money coming in exceeds the money going out. Negative cash flow, the money coming in does not exceed the money going out, how much you're spending, in which case you've got negative cash flow. The next thing to understand is the difference between gross profit and net profit. Profit is the amount that's left over after each sale, once you've deducted all your costs. Gross profit is the profit that you make after deducting the costs associated with making and selling your products or providing your services. A simple example, if a company sells goods for $100 and the cost to produce that is $70, then your gross profit is $30, okay? Which is a gross profit margin of 30%. Now your net profit is a lot more accurate, and this is the one that you really need to understand. So net profit is a much more accurate measure of your profitability because it takes into account not just the direct costs of sale and production, but all the fixed and variable costs of running the business. See how important it is to know all of these little things because they actually all work together. Net profit is the gross profit, which is the revenue minus the cost of goods sold, minus your operating expenses and all other expenses like tax and interest and all of those kind of things. Now, if you manage those double lines, which is driving your top line revenue growth by making more and more sales, and at the same time you're focusing on the overhead and cost base What that will allow you to do is to deliver accelerated, sustainable, and profitable business growth. More sales, less costs equals happy camper. So there you have it. Learn the language of business and you'll make a lot more money. Simple, eh? So don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It'll help support the channel. And if there's anything that you would like for me to be talking about, then drop them in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that bell icon and be part of the notification squad to get notified every time we upload, because I respond to questions in the first hour. I'll see you in the next video and I'll catch you later.